City of Sioux Falls celebrates St. Patrick's Day.
University of Sioux Falls Concert Chorale goes on tour.
And USF students participate in the Hunger Games.
All this and more coming up next on College Week.
Don't go away.
From the Jeske Fine Arts Center on the campus of the University of Sioux Falls, this is College Week. With Alex Bainey, Hannah Olson, Crosstalk with Ethan Graham, and Sports with John Vanentop.
Good morning, I'm Hannah Olson.
And I'm Alex Bainey. Thanks for joining us. So Hannah, we got a great show today.
We do.
We got Ethan Graham sitting down with Dennis Toom, which is going to be great.
Awesome.
And then also we have the sports team doing a special on March Madness.
Yeah, they're doing something a little different this week, so I think it should be interesting.
It's going to be a great show.
Yeah.
Students at the University of Sioux Falls will get a rest from their busy class schedule next week with spring break. The week-long break begins after class Friday and continues through Sunday, March 25th, with the regular class schedule resuming Monday the 26th. The residence halls will close at 5 p.m. on Friday and reopen at 3 p.m. the 25th. Because the break is longer than 6 days, only students who have been granted prior permission to stay in the dorms will be allowed to stay on campus during the break. Java City and the cafeteria will also be closed during the break.
The Sioux Falls community will be celebrating St. Patrick's Day in a variety of ways this weekend. Starting off the festivities Saturday morning at 9 a.m. will be the St. Patrick's Day Mile, where runners dressed in their best Irish garb have the chance to run in 3 different races, the 5 mile, the 5K, and the mile race. During the races, the traditional painting of the Shamrock will take place at 11:45 at 9th Street and Phillips Avenue to officially kick off the day's events. After the races, the 33rd annual St. Patrick's Day Parade will take place downtown Sioux Falls. The parade route will start at 5th Street and Main Avenue beginning at 2 p.m.
With the premiere of the upcoming movie, The Hunger Games, just around the corner, USF decided to celebrate with its own version of the games. With more on the story, here's College Week's Lindsay Elston.
For the first time in the history of the University of Sioux Falls, students participated in the 74th Annual Hunger Games. The games are based on the New York Times best-selling series The Hunger Games, written by Suzanne Collins. In the book, a futuristic government capital forces 2 children from each district to fight to the death in the Hunger Games as a reminder that the capital is in control. In the book, the children are interviewed before they go into battle by Caesar Flickerman. Our very own Alex Heinert took on this role and says he's excited about this week's games.
Back in November, we had a lot of kids in our office talking about how excited they were for this movie that was coming out and these books they'd read. And I had heard about the Hunger Games, but I just kind of assumed, it's kids killing kids. We're not going to do stuff like that on campus. But I had seen the trailer for the movie and then thought it looked pretty great and kind of thought there was some potential there to do some fun stuff with it. And so I read the books over Thanksgiving break and just thought they were awesome.
Julia Iverson, chosen from District 7, the textile district, shares her thoughts on being selected for the competition.
To be honest, I thought that I wouldn't be picked, so I just put my name in for fun because I thought, what the heck, maybe if I do, we'll see what happens. But when my name was picked, it kind of changed the course of my week, and I'm excited, and I gotta just be really competitive and focused, and that's what I plan to do.
As in the books, the USF Hunger Games may force many friends to turn against each other. This may be the case for Iverson, as the other District 7 tribute is her close friend and tennis doubles partner, Morgan DeLange.
We just plan to fight together until the end, and you kind of saw in the interview that I have no problem defeating her in the end because this is a competition, and I believe that I have the ability to win. So we're just going to fight hard together, and then I will come out on top.
For USF College Week, I'm Lindsay Elston.
So Alex, did you volunteer as tribute?
I did volunteer, but I was unable to do it because of work schedule and whatnot. But Colin Koch took my spot, and I think he'll do just fine. But
awesome.
I'm pretty excited about the movie coming up, and
yeah.
I think it should be good.
I think it should be a lot of fun,
yeah.
For sure. Social media feed blew up this past week due to a new viral video about African warlord Joseph Kony. College Week's reporter Bess Salisbury has more in the story.
Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube were the subject of discussion this past week due to a viral video called Kony 2012, This 30-minute video was sponsored and created by Invisible Children, which brings to light the war crimes of forcing children to be soldiers. We sat down with University of Sioux Falls criminal justice professor Beth O'Toole. She says that the use of social media to spread a message like this is astonishing.
Right now, the point was to raise awareness, and awareness is there. It's the challenge now is to translate that awareness into action. And I hope that kids don't think that they've taken action because they retweeted the video. That's not action. That's sharing the message, but that's not really action. So the opportunity to do this cover the night thing is an example of action for kids where they will think they're making a difference. They'll feel like they're making a difference. I'm encouraging everybody I talk to, including my classes and the children that I talk with, that you need to contact policymakers. That's how we get things done in the United States, and so that's an important action step. But the fact that they all stopped watching Bieber videos and YouTube videos, whatever viral thing was going on for the day, that everybody stopped and talked about humanitarian issues in sub-Saharan Africa. I would never have thought that possible in one day. Really pretty impressive.
USF senior Amanda Robin has been involved with Invisible Children for the last 5 years, doing fundraisers like the Mr. USF pageant. Robin says that being involved in something like this is important to be able to take part in history.
Yeah, I think it is, and not just from like the standpoint of everybody's doing it, I want to do it too, but I think it's cool because we're being a part of history, and I think that's where, I don't know, that's where I find the most satisfaction, is that I'm part of something that's going to go down in history. But I do think it's important what they're doing to kind of bring this to light, and I think in the future, like, this is going to impact how we see other atrocities happening. It's kind of a stepping stone for everybody else. So.
If you feel like getting involved, you can get more information at www.coney2012.com or at www.invisiblechildren.com. For College Week, I'm Beth Salisbury.
Coming up next, Student Senate executive petitions are out.
Don't go away. Student Senate executive petitions are out for student body president, vice president, and secretary. President and vice president run together, and secretary is an individual position. A candidate must have 100 signatures on their petition and a letter of recommendation from a faculty member. Presidential candidates must have at least 45 credits, and vice president and secretary candidates must have 24 credits. All candidates have to have a 2.5 GPA as well. Petitions are due back no later than noon on March 27th.
Black Hills State University alumni and former employee Elaine Floyd and her husband Joe recently announced a $1 million pledge to endow the Elaine and Joe Floyd Scholarship at BHSU. The couple announced their scholarship endowment at the university's annual donor recognition dinner. Their pledge is in addition to the $250,000 the couple already donated to establish the Elaine and Joe Floyd Scholarship at BHSU. The Floyds say they established the scholarship program at Black Hills State University because they feel that creating opportunities for young people to earn their degree will make the world a better place.
Parking. It can be a college student's best friend or worst enemy. College Week reporter TJ Oates looks into the changes in parking this year and whether they have benefited students.
Finding a parking space can really be a hassle sometimes. Kevin Greben, head of security and campus safety, says that the changes that have been made this year have actually opened up more parking spaces compared to last year.
Well, parking is a premium issue here, I understand that. Some days you can find a spot real easy and other days you can't. My advice would be, well, come to class, sooner than 2 minutes before it starts, so you're not panicking trying to find a place to park. But if your options are such that the campus lot is full, then your next bet is going to be off on the street somewhere, hopefully there's a place to park there as well.
Grebin says that because of the relocation and deletion of specific parking spots, the university has actually gained 13 more parking spots.
Well, with my department overseeing all the vehicles that are leased through the University of Sioux Falls, basically anybody that wants to use one of the leased vehicles for any purpose involving work related to the university itself, they now have to come in here and check out that vehicle here. So practicality required us to find a place that was probably logistically better for them to park where they are now instead of scattered all over. And this way there's a camera that watches these leased vehicles. So actually those spaces there, we decided to go ahead and specify those only for the leased vehicles for the university.
Parking is not the only problem that students have had in the past years. Snow removal has also stirred up quite a bit of controversy.
I realize again that's an issue, and we're actually going to work on a snow removal policy for the fall of 2012. Building Grounds and myself and Res Life are going to meet and hopefully put together a nice, let's say, easy to follow and user-friendly policy for snow removal for the campus. And then they also understand that if you're off on the street, the city is maybe not so forgiving in terms of their ticketing and their towing. And so what I do on that is, as soon as I get a notice from the city, I belong to the city's website, that there is an emergency snow declared by the city itself, I will forward that to all students and personnel via email.
If you have any questions or suggestions about parking, you can contact Kevin Grebin at kevin.grebin@usiouxfalls.edu. For College Week, I'm TJ Oates.
Alex, have you noticed it easier to park on campus lately?
I've noticed it a little easier. Being off campus, it's still harder to find a spot, but if I'm here early enough, it's usually okay.
Okay, awesome. At the end of the month of March, USF's Concert Chorale has a local tour planned. For more on the story, here's College Week's Sam Tasted.
University of Sioux Falls Concert Chorale is on the move again. Director of Choral Music David DeHue Cleaver says the choir will travel to local South Dakota high schools.
Friday, March 30th, the Concert Chorale will be traveling to 3 different high schools, including Freeman Public High School, Yankton High School, and Mitchell High School.
It is more than visiting other schools to perform. DK says the resulting impact is just as important as the notes they sing.
Touring is a strong emphasis, but it results in connections made with constituents and with prospective students. Those people, alumni and friends that have supported us throughout the year, they enjoy the opportunity to hear us perform and be able to support the choir. It's kind of a win-win situation. We want to perform, they want to hear us perform, and so we create those outlets.
DK says the most important aspect of being a part of Concert Chorale is the experience.
The more that we get them out into the community and the region, the more they enjoy their experience in the Concert Chorale. And that's one of the reasons why our retention rate is so high, because once students get the experience of performing with the Concert Chorale, they really can't imagine their collegiate experience without it.
Lastly, DK shares that the choral students get to share the gift of music along with the gift of helping someone else.
Whether it's doing a day of spring cleanup at the St. Francis House, we feel like taking that campus motto of culture for service to heart is a high priority for us.
The Concert Chorale will be sharing 5 performances in the area from March 30th to April 1st. For College Week, I'm Sam Tasted.
Coming up next, Ethan Graham sits down with Dennis Toom on Crosstalk.
Don't go away.
Sometimes something tasty needs to be shown to this world. You don't know how to tell them, so you just gotta sing. Cougar Pops, have you heard of them? Probably not, because they are brand new, yeah. Cougar Pops, I just want one right now, yeah. I wanna buy one now, I'm gonna buy one now. Let's just try it out. Pops, pops, watermelon flavor, yeah, make your mouth drop, drop. Grape and chocolate, other flavors with them. USF campus is where you gotta get them. Cooper the Cougar thinks you need to try it. You'll be satisfied. I promise that you like it. Make your mouth water better than the others. Brand new homemade Cougar Pop Suckers. Gather up the change, 50 cents a piece. All of the money made goes to charity. Buy one anytime, buy one any day. But you better try one, cause the sale ends in May. Hey, Pops, have you heard of them? Have you heard of them? Probably not, because they are brand new, yeah.
Good morning and welcome to another edition of USF Crosstalk. I'm Ethan Graham and I'm here this morning with Dennis Toom, Campus Chaplain. Good morning, Dennis. Glad you could be here.
I'm glad to be here too.
Well, Dennis, I wanted to ask you a few questions this morning about Lent. Let's start with what is Lent?
Well, Lent is a term for an old tradition. The word Lent is really from a European word for spring, and but the Lenten season is a tradition that goes back to probably around the 2nd century. It goes way back into the church, and a season of preparation for the Easter celebration.
So where did Lent first come about in like the early church? Like where did that start?
Probably in the European church, more as to the time of preparation. There are different accounts in early church writings, 2nd century, 3rd century, of a day of preparation or days of preparation, and 40 being a symbolic number throughout the Bible. They used a 40-day period prior to Easter, and but added to it because it's not a strict 40 days, because Sundays are exempt from that. So you have 40 plus days of Lent preceding the Easter celebration.
All right. Well, Dennis, how does Lent play out now in the church today, and where do we see it most? Is it specific to one denomination over another, or how does that all work?
All the ancient churches use it. The Eastern Church, the Western Church, Roman Catholic Church use it, the Greek Orthodox, Eastern Russian Orthodox. And then Protestants borrowed from it over from the Reformation time. You have Lutherans have always been, I think, strong participants in some remembrances. But now, like a lot of mainline denominations use it. A lot of free church traditions like Baptist, Assembly of God, don't pay a lot of attention to it, but they too will still borrow from the tradition. So the one of the things of Ash Wednesday is the kickoff of the Lenten season. A lot of times you'll see even a Baptist church do a ceremony involving ashes, which is a symbol of sorrow and repentance. And another tradition of giving something up for Lent, that is probably less strictly observed in a lot of churches than it is in more the Catholic or the Orthodox tradition.
So in the churches that do practice Lent or giving up of things or fasting, what are some things that they would generally give up? I've heard fish before. Is that?
Well, one of the big traditions is to give up meat on Fridays, and that goes way back in the church. In the Catholic Church, prior to Vatican II, Friday was always the fast day, and so going back into tradition, it was to give up mainly beef products. And especially for the poor or for anyone, this is more of an expensive thing. So to give up something more expensive in the Eastern Church, give up dairy products in general. But it was to give up and do and then use that money for helping the poor. Fish popped into the scene kind of accidentally. It was never ordained that they should eat fish on Friday, but it was considered a substitute for beef. And as a result, the restaurant industry hit a gold mine with Fish Fridays. And so you have certain chains that make a big deal out of Lenten observance of fasting and sell a lot of fish products. And they make a lot of big money off of it. But there was never really a church instruction that fish was to be the substitute. It's just one of those things that has evolved out of the fasting tradition.
I just find that really interesting because I could have sworn that fish was meat, but I guess so do churches practice that then, like where fish can be used as a substitute today? Yeah, it's, again, it varies from group to group as to who you talk to, and
for some people, it's just a tradition now, and it's unquestioned. This is what we do, and it's the way we've always done it for generations, and it's just one of those things. The real reason for Lent is always a very biblical reason of thoughtful reflection about how our sins put Jesus on the cross. And so it's a time for the church, which celebrates its gift of salvation and forgiveness and the call to righteous living. It's a time for the church to remember that we are sinners too, that it's not, we've never transcended our sin yet. And so it's always a struggle to learn to be thoughtful about our sins.
Well, Dennis, thank you so much for talking to me about that. And it's really been interesting to learn more about it. And thank you so much for coming in today.
My pleasure.
Well, join us next week for another edition of USF Crosstalk. And coming up next, the sports team is going to be discussing March Madness.
Welcome to the first edition of the March Madness Roundtable here on College Week. I'm Sarah Bettinger along with Sajid Polite, Sam Tassett, and John Vanentop. And today we're talking about one of the craziest months in all of sports. It's March Madness. And guys, there's a lot of intriguing matchups. Sajid, what's an intriguing matchup to you in this first round?
First round, I feel like Baylor and SDSU. You know, you never know what's going to happen. We got the home team, and you got Baylor, who was actually on top for a long time. Even though they fell off, I feel like they'll get through this first round.
Yeah, Baylor's a really long athletic team. What are you guys' thoughts about SDSU's chances, the Jacks, to upset the Bears?
You know, the way I see it, SDSU, they are the home team, so everyone here in this general area is going to be rooting for them. But you look at Baylor, this is an incredibly athletic, talented team. Like Sajid said, they were, what did they end up, like 12-0 before they lost a game?
I think so.
But they've just had a lot of inconsistencies, a lot of problems staying together as a team and winning basketball games. But they're still a great team, so I don't see how they could lose.
Sam, what do you think? Does South Dakota State have a chance?
Definitely. I think both teams are very high scoring. They both average over 70 points a game. The guard play is what I'm really interested in.
Yeah, Nate Walters from South Dakota State, he can really light it up.
NBA prospect next year.
That's right. Perry Jones.
Good
guard
player.
It's going to come down to it, I guess, guard play.
Guard play. And South Dakota State is actually one of the better three-point shooting teams in the tournament, too, so that gives them a real advantage, I'd say.
Yeah.
What about another intriguing matchup? I like North Carolina State against San Diego State. North Carolina State was, a lot of people thought they were kind of cheated out of a victory in that ACC tournament. What do you guys think about the 11 seed Wolfpack and their chances against San Diego State?
Well, obviously, you know, as you said, kind of cheated out of the win. I mean, it was a sketchy call, we'll call it. But either way, they played a great game of basketball. They're on a roll right now. That's really a big factor for the tournament. If you're on a roll when you get there, you got a good chance to at least get out of the first round. So I got NC State winning it against San Diego.
I have to disagree with that one. Actually, I feel like even though North Carolina State had a good season this year, and, you know, they played a lot of competitive teams, San Diego State has always been, you know, kind of consistent in getting in the at least Sweet 16 every year. So I feel like it's about time. You know, the number 6 right now, anything happen.
And you talk about consistency. I mean, what about the Connecticut Huskies? One of the perennial best teams in all of college basketball, and this year a 9 seed against Iowa State. What do you guys think about Connecticut and their chances to possibly make a run? I mean, they draw Kentucky in the second round. That's a pretty tough draw.
It is.
So the way you look at it is they draw Kentucky in the second round. So if you look at UConn, this is a team that should have been great. They have 2 easy lottery picks this year in Jeremy Lamb and Andre Drummond. So you look at the talent they have, they should be able to get past this Iowa State team, but they're playing fantastic basketball right now. So it's going to be a good game for there. But when you get against Kentucky, you know, you look at this young team. Both teams are young. Both have a lot of talent. But I think Kentucky's just at least a step and a half ahead of UConn right now.
A factor that I was going to look at, the points in the paint. The last 6 games, UConn has averaged 8.8 points in the paint.
Yeah, they've got some talented big men, especially their young freshman. What's
Andre
his name?
Drummond.
Andre Drummond, exactly. And like you said, he's a for sure lottery pick. So they can match up potentially, and that's assuming they get past Iowa State, because the Cyclones have had a few upsets this year themselves.
That's how I feel. There's going to have to be an upset, you know, sooner or later in this March Madness. And I feel like, you know, UConn could be upset after this game.
It's definitely possible. And you talk about Iowa State upsetting one of the best parts about March Madness is the sleeper, the
Yes.
Cinderella. So who do you guys think is a potential Cinderella team this year? Let's say a 4 seed or less.
You know, I don't really have one this year, to be honest. I mean, my biggest Cinderella team is the Louisville. At number 4, I've got them making it to the Elite 8. But beyond that, in the Final Four, my lowest seed is a 3. So looking at that, I don't see a huge Cinderella story like last year with VCU this year. The field's just a little stronger this year, in my opinion.
Sam?
I like Long Beach State. They're playing in Portland, Oregon, and they went on the road against North Carolina and Kansas this year.
I'm going to have to agree with Sam.
Long Beach.
Long Beach State.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
That's interesting you say that because on my bracket right here, you won't be able to see it from far away, but I have Long Beach State penciled in as the winner. My sleeper team isn't really a sleeper. I mean, they've been a top 10 team this year, but the Florida Gators, I mean, they have an incredibly talented team. Nobody's talking about them. They're a 7 seed in the West region, so I really like their chances potentially, especially with a matchup against Missouri and potentially looking ahead Marquette in the next couple of rounds. So who's your guys' Final Four picks really quick?
Oh, I have to go with Kentucky, Missouri, North Carolina, and Syracuse.
Who's cutting down the nets?
I'm going for Missouri, actually.
Missouri.
Missouri.
Well, I've got Kentucky, Michigan State, Syracuse, and Carolina. I think Carolina beats Kentucky in the championship game. What about you guys?
I have Kentucky, North Carolina, Ohio State, Missouri, with North Carolina cutting down the nets.
I've got a little different approach. I've got Kentucky, Florida State, Marquette, and North Carolina. And I've got Kentucky taking it down at the end.
Interesting.
Against North Carolina. Your
well,
Tar Heels.
2 out of 4 for the Carolina Tar Heels at this table, but be sure and enjoy March Madness. It is one of the best times of year, and that'll wrap up this edition of College Week. I'm Sarah Bettinger. Have a great day.
Stay classy.